Genesis chapter 5 is a long genealogy. I'm not going to read every verse, but I'll highlight it. However, the importance here, remember, there's two lines. Coming from Adam and Eve, because Abel is dead, there's the line of Cain, which is an unrighteous line, and it's getting worse and worse until we met Lamech in the last chapter. But then there's the righteous line of Seth, another child of Adam and Eve. Now, they're not righteous in the sense that they're perfect, because sin is still going to be the problem. But they call upon the name of the Lord. However, things get progressively worse until God regrets that he made man on the face of the earth and goes to wipe him off. And that will introduce us to Noah. So chapter 5 is a genealogy that gets us caught up to Noah, but just basically, very quickly, is going to lead us through this downward spiral of sin until things look hopeless. Chapter 5. This is the book of generations of Adam. So there's another section marker in Genesis. When you see this is the book of the generations, or Toledot in Hebrew, that is a division. When God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. This is a summary of everything. But something went wrong. Male and female he created them, he blessed them, he named them man, or Adam, means from the ground, when they were created. But Adam is also the first man's name, Adam. When Adam lived 130 years, he fathered a son in his own likeness, after his image, and he named him Seth. So a lot of time is going by. Remember, I referred to that in the last chapter. Where did all these people come from that Cain was concerned about? Somebody's going to kill me. And I said, remember, they're not going off to college or high school, and they're not having kids in their 20s and 30s. They're having these kids when they hit puberty. And they're not having one or two. They're probably having many. And so it doesn't take long for there to be a lot of people. The other thing is that they're living very long lives. In fact, they'll continue to live very long lives until after the flood. So here, at 130 years, Adam fathers Seth, and then he continues to live. The days of Adam after he fathered Seth were 800 years. And so all totaled, Adam is living 930 years. Now, that's actually incredible. You know, who wouldn't sign a contract for that now? But sooner or later, the 930 years are up and you die anyway. That's the effects of sin. I've laughed before and I said, well, the first 20 years were great. After that, it was all downhill. All of them are living long lives. And so then it starts to follow this righteous line of Seth. When Seth was 105, he fathered Enosh. Enosh then lives this long life, and he fathers Kenan. Kenan lives a very long life, and he fathers Mahalalel, who lives a very long life, and fathers Jared. Jared lives a very long life and fathers Enoch. Now that's the famous Enoch. Verse 19, Jared lived after he fathered Enoch 800 years. He had other sons and daughters. These were the days of Jared, were 962 years, and he died. Now when Enoch lived 65 years, he fathered Methuselah, who's going to be the oldest guy who ever lives. Now look at verse 22. Enoch walked with God after he fathered Methuselah 300 years, had other sons and daughters. Thus all the days of Enoch were 365 years. Enoch walked with God. That's the key. And he was not, for God took him. That's why the second Enoch is important. There's also going to be extra biblical literature about him. But here everybody's living almost 1,000 years, but he lives 365 years, and God likes him so much, he just takes him. And that's all we hear. He sort of gets translated from this world into the next. Now, we'll see that in the New Testament. When we're talking about the coming of Jesus and the rapture, and those who are alive will be automatically translated into the next life. But this is a very unique thing, where God liked Enoch so much, he just took him. Elijah will be that way too. Elijah will ride a heavenly Uber into heaven, because God's going to send a chariot for him and he's not going to die. But these are exceptions. And the key part about Enoch is it says that he walked with God. That's verse 22. That hasn't really happened since the Garden of Eden. That hasn't happened since Adam and Eve were naked in the garden. And it's foreshadowing that there is going to be a way, despite the terrible, terrible sin, there's going to be a way for some people to find themselves back to God. And we'll ultimately find that that's going to be possible because Jesus is going to come and he's going to pay the price. Now, from Enoch's point, he has to look forward to that price to be paid. We look backwards to the cross, But everybody's always going to be saved by the cross, by grace, through faith. That's how we're saved, based upon the cross. So Enoch is an important guy. When Methuselah had lived 170 years, he followed Lamech. That's a different Lamech. That's not the Lamech in Cain's line. This is the Lamech who's going to be in the line of Seth and then ultimately Noah. Methuselah lives, in verse 27, 969 years, and then he died. And all of creation seems to be heralding this. I got the dog barking over there. I've got the rooster crowing over there. This is how God made the world. Be at peace. In verse 28, when Lamech lived 182 years, he fathered a son, and he called his name Noah. Now that's the Noah as in Noah of the ark. Saying, out of the ground the Lord has cursed. This one shall bring us relief, because Noah's name is a play on words of relief. He'll bring us relief from our work and from the painful toil of our hands. Remember, that was the curse of Adam. The curse of the ground, the painful toil. Curse isn't work. Curse is not liking your work. It's hard work. That's the problem. And so here with Noah, there's this righteous faith in turning to God, saying there's going to be relief. But it's relief out of a really terrible situation, because the planet's going to really rebel against God. So much so that God is sorry he made us. Lamech lived, and he fathered Noah 595 years. He had other sons and daughters. All total, Lamech lived 777 years. And then he died. Last verse in chapter 5. After Noah was 500 years old, Noah fathered his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. They're going to become important because Noah, his wife, and his 3 sons are going to be the only ones who God rescues through the ark. And now we're going to turn to the stories of the flood.